Welcome to the Ripple Effect by the Alliance. We are committed to raising the frequency of our planet. We'll discuss hot topics, share practical tools and sacred frequencies to reveal the magic in your life. Come laugh, cry, and have fun with us.
Okay, welcome back everyone to the Ripple Effect podcast with the Alliance. Myself, Sarah, Stacia, and Hannah. Continuing on our, continuing on our series this month, we are taking the time to get to know each other a little bit better, have you get to know each of us a little bit better. So next up, we have the beautiful Stacia. You're looking gorgeous. And we're going to dive in with some questions. But before we do that, I would love for you to share a little bit more about you for our audience and about like what you're focused on in your business and life.
Oh, putting me right on the spot, huh?
Right into it.
Oh, thank you so much. So yeah, you're going to find out that I am the person on this podcast that just wants to do all of the things. so focusing on some of the things is probably going to be pretty hard for me, but I have really been all over the place. I'm a scientist by trade, and I was working as a transfusion service specialist. So I know how to type your blood and get you blood products and bones and all that fun stuff ready. And then the pandemic happened.
Yeah,
I know, right?
That's what I was
kind of crazy. It's kind of, but hey, it's a good thing to know if you're ever
somebody has to do it.
If you're ever in a situation where you need blood and blood products. So I went and became a certified yoga teacher, and that really kind of started me down this road right before the pandemic hit, where I started learning about meditation, mediumship, all of the fun things. And then I met Hannah, and then it just snowballed into like, I can't even describe, like I became a shamanic apprentice. I studied with the Mary Magdalene School. I did all kinds of priestess teachings. I became a certified moonologer. I have 2 Reiki masteries. Let me see. What else do I do? I study with Kyle Gray.
You got certified to marry people. You can marry.
Yes,
people.
I'm an ordained minister. I am now an ordained minister. I am a soul coaching oracle. It's like I am just all over the place. And now I'm trying to marry all of these incredible things that I've learned and integrate them into really helping people to be better versions of themselves. I started really diving into astrology during this time because it's really amazing how much the stars hold this information for us. When you see where we're at and you see what's happening, there's always an aha. I see what you did there. Yeah. So I am coming up with an offer that you ladies inspired me to do, where I have now started programming crystals. As you can tell, I have a thing for crystals here, and it really is just transformative when you learn how to work with frequencies and energies. Something else that I have really piggybacked from the beautiful Hannah here. So I hope that answers some of the what the heck is Stacia doing?
Yeah, well, and we'll dive more into each of those.
Well, since Sarah so graciously started by diving deep, we're going to go even deeper with my next question.
Oh boy.
Yeah, because one of the things that I'd like to know is what have been the hardest moments in your life that have actually impacted you for the better, that have that you thought, oh my God, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me, and later, after everything was said and done, you could look back and realize that it was actually maybe a blessing, very well disguised.
Right. I'll get this. So
I got mine close by.
before I start answering this, I think there's really pivotal moments throughout my life, but most recently would definitely be the loss of my husband. And and the way that happened, like everything that led up to that, you know, I really felt like I had no one, because it was stuff that we didn't talk about. You know, he had some traumatic brain injuries, and I don't know if you're familiar with, you know, the football players when they get diagnosed with the CTE, the, you know, multiple concussions. And he finally was getting help, but it was just not enough. And so when we finally needed people, I was met with a lot of resistance. You know, like, there's always two sides to every story. And, you know, like I didn't get that, like, I'm finally reaching out, please help me. And it was like, I was met with really no one. So, whew. So what I ended up doing was learning how to start surrendering on my own. And I didn't really even realize it, because I was still in such a state of blame and, you know, cause and effect, and what did I do, and why is this happening? And then thankfully, when the world took a pause, you know, I met Hannah and Sarah, and I started working through some of the things that I dipped my toes in, but I wasn't quite diving into the bigger answers that I was looking for, until we started our meditation group. And I really started seeing my place and my role, and all this resistance that I put up for getting help, or, you know, not wanting to ask. And then I had to start changing pretty much my entire thinking of, why is this happening, to what am I learning from this? And then I started really giving myself credit for, you know, being strong and carrying this family, and letting go of that guilt and that blame and that shame, and just knowing that everything is always working out for me, regardless of what it looks like right now. It's going to be okay. And it's been an incredible almost 3 years of just really just diving into really changing my mindset. And with that, everything has changed around me. And that would probably be like the lesson, the what I've gotten out of such a great loss. And I owe you ladies so much, as far as helping me to be, you know, to be vulnerable, and to share my heart, and to see that I have worth and value when I felt that I didn't. So.
Oh my gosh. And I seriously, I felt every word of that. But I can attest to the fact that you've done all the work, and you were the one willing to open yourself up to seeing a different possibility from whatever happened. And what came out of it has been a complete transformation of from who you were to who you are now. Because had this not happened, I think you'd be still working with blood and blood products, you know, or being a scientist at wherever, which I'm not knocking it. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
But there was a part of you that was asleep, I feel, that desperately needed waking up. And this whole situation has done that. And I believe that throughout this journey that we've shared, and me seeing you bloom, I feel that you have found strength in yourself that you didn't even know you had.
Definitely.
Right. And still working on the asking and receiving, because when one is met with rejection, when one finally breaks down and says, okay, I need help me, and is met with crickets, then it becomes really challenging to go back and give that another chance. Because it's so easy to just shut down and say, I'm never going to ask for help again, because when I asked for help, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
But what if all of that was part of the divine plan, and the divine plan of not only your life, but your husband's life? And what if, I always say that there's, we're all in a single individual pathway, a unique individual path. And there's nothing we can do to change the outcomes that people choose, as much as we want, as much as we love them. They could be our parent, our child, our spouse. And if they made their choice, you can just do the jig and dance around, or pray, or get yourself locked in a cave and meditate. It's not going to change the outcome. So knowing that, maybe it can give you a little bit of solace, knowing that it was all in divine order. And maybe the reason why nobody showed up was because you also had chosen a path where you needed to have this transformation. And it was almost like going into a cave and meditating, because you haven't had nobody on the outside coming over and checking in on you, right? You had to go through that dark night by yourself, like many of us have done. And God knows, I know how painful that can be, and how challenging, and how I guess it could have very easily gone a different way for you.
Oh,
That's what I was thinking, because I was like, I think it speaks to the type of person you are, Stacia, because you could have just turned yourself off, went numb, continued to work in the blood. I was going to say factory. It's not factory. Blood lab.
Blood factory. Yes.
I'm like, so not a scientist person. But you could have kept going through the motions and just numbed yourself, shut yourself off to anything. Yeah. But you chose a different path, and you chose to work on yourself. And the beautiful part is, when I met you, I would have never known that, because you were so willing to like learn and like and grow and see things from a different perspective, that your energy was like magnetic. It was like, oh, who is this person? Like she's such a light, and she wants to know new things, and she's so open, and she's caring, and she's sympathetic and empathetic to others, right? And I admire that about you, and I think it's such a beautiful part of you that could have easily, like Hannah said, went a totally different direction, and you could have just shut everything down, not opened yourself up to receiving anything new, and just carried on and went through the motions in life.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and ironically, I would have gone down that path had I not met you, because I had started working on my mindset, but the people that I was working with, I wasn't willing to give all of that information. And, when you're in a group and you're sharing, it's like, well, I don't want to share that, so everything was very superficial, and I just barely got in the surface, like, oh, well, I do this because of this. And then we started with Hannah. It's like, no, it's really because of this.
Right.
We just really started diving in. And I had that willingness, because I had never in my life thought that I could sit down in my room with my phone and talk to people all over the world and get the type of training and like knowledge that I was gaining. And that's why I was just like so willing to just go all in on myself, because I could see the results happening just instantaneously, and everything was just getting better. Even though the world was in turmoil, I was really thriving, and it showed through my family. Even, we were having a great time, and it was such a strange time.
It was a strange time, right? Because we felt a little bit of guilt surrounding it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, we're going to have a great year. And I predicted a great year. And then all these things happen. And then I was like, was I crazy predicting that? And then at the end of the year, we did an account of what had happened, especially 2020. And we were like, holy cow, while everybody else was losing their loved ones, having horrible traumatic situations, having all this grief and loss, we were thriving and we were at peace more than anything. Our minds were calm, so we were able to make different choices than everybody else. And we were able to get informed and make different decisions that, even though were criticized by mostly the entire world, we were able to hold steadfast in our beliefs, in what was right for us, and not allow the outside world to crush us.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
So
Yeah.
I know, right? Well, that was
thank you for that.
That was a banger.
I'm wondering too, then, on this, like, has there been someone in your life who's had a big influence on you? Like, and you mentioned Hannah, obviously, but that allowed you to, maybe deep down, I was like, oh, this person had this big impact on me. Like, I think about my grandma, right? And who passed away in 2005. And it's like, her words are always with me. Is there somebody who like that for you? Or like, maybe not, maybe it's you yourself, but who has there been someone who's had a big influence in your life that's allowed you to become the person you are now?
No, I definitely would go to my grandma. She made it to almost 106, which is incredible to have her for that long. But I didn't realize how much she really meant to me until I started getting older. And my parents, well, my mom was younger, and my dad, he struggles with alcohol, and my mom would work evenings, so I was always with him. And so I was taken to my grandma's a lot. And so that's where I really grew up. I learned how to cook, and I learned how to do all these things. And because she was born in 1914, I learned a lot of things that maybe other children didn't, they would have never had this opportunity. And I really was able to draw on her experiences. And she was always a stay-at-home mom. She had 5 kids. One passed, and they lived on a farm. And so I am just so blessed to have had her in my life, and the encouragement that she would give me was, it's just priceless. And I think I take that, and now knowing how much, that she really meant to me, I use that energy when I find others that I know are meant to, they're here because I'm meant to learn from them. So I have came across so many other people now, as my years are going, and I just draw from what they're teaching, what they're and I integrate it into my being. And I feel like I probably owe all of that to her, because had I not realized and not taken that for granted, I definitely wouldn't be the Stacia that was staying up till 3-4 in the morning to do Zoom classes with a group in New Zealand. Or I was just all in on myself, and I just knew that when I followed the signs, something magical was going to come into my life, and that it was meant to be. And so I definitely feel like my grandma's who opened that up for me. So,
oh my God, I love that. She taught you how to be a good student and want to take things in and learn things. That explains a lot. That explains that, the Stacia that I met.
Yeah, because also it's interesting, because when we met you, you were literally giving support to, I don't know how many people, but I know that every time I launched a program, or I did something, or I gave a master class, you're the first one to sign up, the first one to be there, the first one to support, the first one to tell everybody and yell from the rooftops about me. And it felt so good that it created like even an issue in the group that Sarah and I were in a mastermind, and
fighting over
and,
Stacia.
and people were fighting over you literally, but I can see why, right? And I can see why somebody would want to say, well, I brought her in, it's like because she had literally, you guys had attracted to each other, into each other's lives, and then somehow you got connected to our group. And I can see why, because you've always been such a light, and it's been amazing because just like you said, you're starting to open up, and you've opened up definitely in our group, but in general in life I feel that you're very reserved and very private about your things. And so you never ever brought in your issues where people felt like, oh, poor Stacia, oh my God, this happened to her. We've never felt that feeling. Right. And I'm sure plenty of times you felt like, oh my God, poor me. But it never ever has come across that way. It's always been so giving that when we find these things out, it's almost like when I first found out about it, it was like a shock of how giving you could be, even though life seemed very cruel, to you.
Yeah.
Well,
so having said that, like, how do you manage to stay this positive?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. Well, before I even knew that I was doing it, it's a choice. When I was having all of the issues with my husband, kind of going downhill, he would say to me, like terrible things would happen. And he's like, why are you so happy? And I was like, because that's what I want. And, hearing myself say that now, that's what I want. And now I know it goes so much deeper, because this personality that you see that I present, it's because I know how it feels to be on that other side, and it sucks. So I'm always looking for that light. I'm always wanting to be that light, because I don't want people to feel how I felt. And we have a choice. And I think that sometimes people don't remember that. And that's really kind of where this work is taking me. Like, I laugh about how I'm all over the place, but I'm all over the place because it's as though my soul knows what I'm doing. My brain doesn't. I'm just catching up with myself, and I'm just going to be ready to be whatever I need to be for whatever situation I'm presented with. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, we've worked so diligently at literally disconnecting our brain, right? For a while, just for a while, we're starting to connect it all over again and but we're creating new neural connections to our brain now, after we've done all the spiritual work, where we kept telling our brain, okay, it's time to go on holiday. You get the weekend off.
Yeah.
And we're going to go from the heart and from our literal soul, and we're not going to listen to our mind chatter. And now it's all about directing our mind, but we had to do the groundwork, right? And you have certainly done that and more. I mean, I could not be more proud of you.
Yeah. And I just want to say on that, you're always somebody who I even think about like your car trouble that you've been having. Like, anybody else would probably be like, for fuck's sake, like, I hate this fucking car. Like, even that, I feel like you stay more positive than, the average person might react to that situation. And I just love that you said, like, it's a choice, and because that's what I want to be happy. And like, there's things that are beyond our control, And I feel like, Stacey, you're not somebody who's trying to like pull all the strings and control it. You're like, okay, well, okay, I'm on a detour now. Where do I go? What path am I taking? Like, it's never something that you feel like you have to control or is controlling you. It's just like, you're so like smooth and flexible. And I think the fact that you're able to do that probably like obviously keeps you so positive. And you're somebody who, if I'm going through something and I bring it up in the group, like you bring a positive spin to it and help me see it in a different way too, right? So thank you for that. And I love that that's part of who you are.
Thank you. Well, and as Hannah's always saying, you know, what you resist persist. And I don't want to be in an energy that doesn't feel good.
No.
So I'm always trying to elevate regardless, you know, regardless of what seems to be happening in front of me. I just have to decide that everything is happening for a reason and it's all working out for me.
And so like, it's almost sometimes like you just laugh about it. Like, well, here we are. Fuck. Oh my gosh. So
but we've learned to rise above that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Rising above whatever is happening, right, and keeping our frequency high starts attracting more of that, right, to which we're vibrating to, as opposed to allowing us to stay in the muck.
Right.
Yeah. And I almost feel like it's like it can't take you down, right? It's like, oh, well, this isn't her kryptonite. So I guess, you know, we'll move on to the next person. So,
but there is, if, you know, that being said, rising above it and trying to stay positive, but then if things are still getting kind of crazy, that's when you have to really stop to say, is this for my highest good? Because maybe this is not for my highest good. And it makes you look at things. It changes your perspective on what you're allowing to come into your energy. And, you know, sometimes we have to go ahead and close that door so that we can continue to be in a better energy, because, you know, the universe, it could be subtle or it can drag you down by your hair. But we have to make that decision. We have to use that intuition that we have to know that, like, okay, this is still going not so great. Let me take a look at what it is.
No blinders. Take off the blinders.
Right.
I feel like you're an observer too of those things. So
definitely.
Yeah, but also saying, okay, how am I showing up that this is showing up?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of that. It's that I always say, right? There's the things that you know, the things you know you don't know. There's also the things that you don't know that you don't know. And those are the things that get us, right? They're like, oh, gotcha. And those are the things that we carry that are cellular imprints. They are family. You know, they've been going down generation by
generations.
Generational. I don't want to call them curses, but generational imprints of ideas, of customs that we believe that is the way things should be. And those things sometimes come out without us even knowing. We don't even see them. Like somebody watching you is like, oh, here's the monkey on your back. I always say that's why we always need a coach, right? To tell you, oh, there's your monkey on your back, because every time you turn, the monkey's going to be on your blind spot. And so when things keep happening, it's like, wait a second, you can just ignore them for a while and try to rise up. But there comes a point where you're like, okay, well, wait, this is happening way too many times. Let me see what I'm bringing into this party. And how do I disengage, right? How do I really go, oh, okay, now I can see. And then in that moment, usually things dissipate.
Oh, everything. Yeah. It's amazing. It is amazing. Like you have taught us so much as far as that monkey on your back, because before I would be like, oh, she found the monkey. Like, what the hell do I do with the monkey? You know? And now it's like, oh, wait a minute. Let me stop and think about this. All right, there it is. So
there's the monkey.
But we do the work. We have been doing the work, doing the work for so much time now. It's just, it's amazing the difference, from 2020 till now. Like, I would have thought you were crazy if you would have told me just a 2% of the things that I would have done in that time period, and yet here we are doing a podcast. So
Yay.
Crazy to think. Good crazy.
Right.
I want to ask you a fun question. What makes Stacia laugh?
Oh my goodness. So I'm an odd one. I don't know. I'm just always my energy just by itself is always just very high, and I am really silly. I'm a nervous laugher, which is kind of funny because sometimes I'm laughing because I'm just like terrified, like, oh my God, this is not hilarious, but my face is saying it is.
Yeah.
So I just enjoy life. I think that I've really, especially have learned to have such an appreciation for it now, after losing my husband. And the year before that, I lost a cousin in the line of duty. He was one of the 2 police officers murdered in Gettysburg, Mississippi. Hadn't had any police officers murdered since like the 60s. Like, it was a really national news type thing. And then the year before that, I lost my 21-year-old baby cousin to an asthma attack. So it was just like all of these things were it was just too much. And when I lost my first cousin, when I lost him a few years before my husband, I just decided that, I got just so depressed and like I had never been so sad, I don't think, in my entire life, because he had came over here to my son's birthday party. It was Zandon's 3rd birthday party. And in under 24 hours, we got a call. My aunt was at the hospital. He had died. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. You were just here. We had such a great time. And during the time leading up to the funeral, it was like something just changed. And it's just like, I just knew that I had to be stronger, and I had to just decide, without knowing I was making all these decisions. I had to decide that I wasn't going to get pulled down into that grief, and that I was going to be that support that everyone else needed. And that's ultimately what happened. And then it was like every time, someone would pass, it was like, it sounds crazy, but it's like, it almost made me stronger. And, then doing the mediumship work, learning that, we still have these connections, we still have this ability to tap into like this incredible love that we've all came here with, and that it's never gone. It just really has helped me to always remain in that type of energy where I'm just happy that I'm here, and I'm happy and grateful for this life.
That's so beautiful.
That's gorgeous.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I had a question, but now it's just like, you've just touched my heart so much. And you guys
We're like in awe.
I don't have
speechless.
I don't have tears, and I'm just like, oh, I'm crying inside. I am crying inside. Well, let's get a little lighter and talk about your crystals. What are your favorite crystals? How did you get into the crystal programming thing? I mean, how did it happen? Like your first crystal, how did you get into it?
What was your first crystal?
Okay. So
yeah, like when you were a scientist, were you into crystals, or did that happen afterwards?
No, I really wasn't. It wasn't until the year that we lost my husband, we went to a metaphysical show. It is out at the fairgrounds, so it's this huge building, and I picked crystals. The kids picked crystals. We just were having fun with it. And then I came home and I Googled them. And it was like, oh my God, like one of the ones that really stood out for me, it's one of my favorites, is rose quartz. And, that's the self-love and the compassion. It was just everything that I needed. And I think that is ultimately what really sent me down this path of, ooh, well, I feel like I need this. And then I would look it up. Of course I need it. Like they all have these different vibrations that they come to you with. And really when you're around them, you can really feel, you can feel a connection with some of them. Now, I didn't bring my first rose quartz, but I did bring this whopper.
Wow.
that the children got me for Mother's Day of 2020. This is almost a 3-pound rose quartz heart. It's just gorgeous. And who doesn't need that? Rose quartz as big as your head. But I just love the feel of crystals. I have a lot of very unique crystals. And I think that is, this little Native American. I feel like that is really like where I started, but how I went from that to where I am now is I would set intentions, with moon, full moon, new moon, all the moons. And I felt like I was really getting a lot of help and comfort for it. And so then I started having some friends going through some things. And it was like, this voice was like, well, you know what? You should take this stone and program it. And how I did that was, now that I've done it a few times, whether it's the sun or the moon, it's like, I just feel I know what it needs. And then I put these intentions into it, and I work with energy. So I do the Reiki and things of that nature. But the first time that I did this for my friend, she was really going through some things. And I mean, I went over there. She felt like she was under a psychic attack and like her house was in a poltergeist. And as soon as I walked in there, I was like, I love you, but this is you. We need to fix this. And I gave her this crystal, and she was like, as soon as she grabbed it, she's like, it just felt like, like it just started just feeling her body just started feeling so much better. And then we did some things. And so this is something that I've been working on is, crystals are formed obviously sometimes millions and millions of years ago. And, everything is energy. And everything around us that looks solid, it's not. Everything is constantly moving, but it's moving in a way that we can't visualize with our little human eyes because we're not, we can't. So all of these crystals, regardless of where they've come from, they're all moving, and they all hold frequency. I learned so much about frequency with Hannah's beautiful Han Pan, Harry. We love him so much. Harry. But I've been just learning how to take the frequency that they hold and enhance that frequency so that it can help, the person that is needing that extra little in their energy field or needing to release something. It's like, okay, just hold on to this and let's just let this shit go. So look, I cussed.
Yeah. But isn't it amazing how I'm sure, like you said, you felt something when you started being around crystals, but I know that as far as I go, every crystal that I own has actually chosen me.
Yes.
It's like, I know what crystal I'm supposed to take because I just feel it. Right. I'm like, oh, this is the one talking to me.
Right.
This is the one that I need now. And then I go and do the research and I'm like, yep, okay, now I know why you're in my life.
Exactly.
But
yes.
the moment, right? But in the
I wasn't going to buy this. And then I saw something and literally there was an image in this and it's a black quartz. And I'm like, oh, black quartz, that's cool. Don't need it. And then I was like, what is that? And it's like, I have to get this. And then I got it. And then I look it up. I'm like, well, of course I had to get this. And of course it had that image that just like drew me to it. And I was just like this moth to a flame, and I was toast. So here we are. Oh. But you know, it's funny because we can look at them like this rock or this, but it's really like, it's like the earth has birthed this, you know, it's came from this planet, and it holds so much information that, you know, our regular human thinking can't comprehend it. But it's like, it's almost like these layers that are within these crystals, these rocks, you know. It's just mind-blowing that they've been around for so long, and all that they've seen and all that they've absorbed in the energy that, you know, that has been here long before us and will be here long after us. And it's just incredible.
And the pressure they've withstood.
Yeah.
Because some of these crystals were regular rocks, and the pressure has just like turned them into what they are now. So it's just, they're literally an example of a life, right? Well lived, and how you go through the pressure, and then in the end you look beautiful. So I'm hoping.
I have a thing for space rocks, so moldavite, and I have tons and tons of meteors. Like, I can't even tell you how many of these little, you know, collections I have from all over the world, because again, that impact, the explosion, and then they're formed. It's like, that's how it was born here. And really that energy kind of stays with it, you know, as they mine it, and then they divvy it out to people like me, and they're like, oh, can I have a tiny smidge of crumb? Can I have a crumb of that meteor, please? But you really feel it when you're ready. You really feel it, and you can really work with it in a way that is going to help you. So
when someone's getting, like, I think about people who are like, this is new to them, basically go to the one you're drawn to, and then, like,
definitely,
is there certain ways that people should store their, like, you keep yours out beautifully displayed, but like, I always think about, like, me, I have a couple crystals, and I'm always worried, like, when do I charge them, and when do I like, are they safe just out? Like, am I overthinking it, or is it just listen to the crystal and listen, like,
I think you could definitely listen to the crystal. And I think too that people get overwhelmed with, yes, you can cleanse them and charge them, and there's certain times that you should be doing things with them, but there's also times that you can say, you know, like, well, I just want to cleanse this crystal, and hey, moon, can you bless this? And I mean, it's really that simple if you think about it, because it's all intentional. And if that's your intentions, you know, that's the intention that you're putting out, and that's the energy that it's receiving. So, but yeah, I think that we get really bogged down in the details.
Yeah, but there's some of them that should not be out in the sun, because they will lose their color.
Yes. Like,
and some of them you can wash with water and salt, and some of them that you shouldn't.
Right. If I was to put this amethyst into sunlight, it would take all the purple away. It's like it just kind of drains the color straight out of it. Yeah.
If you're listening and you're a beginner, just go to Stacia. And one of the things, I love that you brought up your offer earlier that you're going to be doing, or you have been doing, because that's something where a lot of people, myself included, would be like, yeah, I want to put this in Stacia's hands because you're the expert. And no, it's true. And then and then I get something that, I don't know, if it's personalized, and you're someone that I trust. I know that you know what you're talking about, and what I'm going to get is, you know, not just someone mailing me a rock.
Thank you. Yes. Well, and I would definitely, I would definitely also let you know how to take care of it.
Exactly.
So, and if anybody out there is needing, you know, any questions for their crystals, Google is great. You know, you can just put in the stone if you don't know the name of the stone. Sometimes I have put in things like blue shiny stone. And then you'll see it. It's like, oh, that's it right there. Oh, there it is.
Well,
And then you can learn about it.
yeah, yes, exactly. And no,
So
like,
they've made things very easy for us. Everything is just so available. And that just, I'm still mind blown by it. I come from the time of encyclopedias where I'm like, please, can we get encyclopedias? My mom's like, no, that's crazy. And now I'm like, look, Mom, I have encyclopedias right here on my phone. It's
Yeah.
right here.
I have
True.
tons of them.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
One of your other passions is astrology, you mentioned earlier. I'd love for you to share more about like how you got into that, why you're so passionate about it, why I know for us, when we have a question about when should we do something, even starting the podcast, we're like, Stacia, tell us astrologically, what is a good day? There was one day.
And then we
It's
regretted
now
it.
or like
And then we regretted
6
it.
months from now. We're like, well, we're doing it in 2 days.
Like, sorry, we got to do it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Flat lines after this. Come on. Seriously. So you're
No,
so how did you get into that? Why are you so interested in it? And like, how do you use it in your everyday life for the listeners? Because I know how to use it. But.
well, but I will go back to the baby story of astrology, is when I got I got Yasmin Boland's Moonology cards, and I was like, oh, these are really cool. And wouldn't you know it, we're in a pandemic, and here she is advertising on Facebook that she's going to be doing a free workshop. And I'm like, okay, let me go check it out. So I go and I watch her free workshop, and I'm like, this is really interesting. And lo and behold, she comes up with her very first offer of this Moonologer certification. And I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting. But, I probably won't do that. And then some other things came out, and I was like, I really do want to do that. So I'm like, I'm just going to go ahead and get this, and I'll figure it out, because that's just what I do. And I always gets figured out. So I get this Moonologer, this whole big course. And it's crazy because it's like all of these things that I'm like, what the heck is this? And these transits and these houses and all of this stuff. But it's like so incredible. And we did our own charts, and I'm like, ooh, wow, that's me. It's crazy when you do a birth chart, which we'll have to put there's a free link. There's all kinds of free links that you can do a birth chart, but we'll have to drop a free link on this video, that when you do your birth chart, and it tells you, your sun, your moon, like where everything was the day that you were brought on this planet, where everything was in time and space. And as you grow, and, we're just spinning around this universe, or spin around the sun, how those original planets, how that energy can change from person to person, because we all have a completely different birth chart, because we were more than likely never in the same spot, maybe identical twins, but they're still going to come out in a different time. They don't just pop both sacks and yank out 2 babies. But I'm just saying, maybe, I don't know, that might be a thing. But, we all have a very, very different origin story. And that origin story is what carries us through our life. And when you start following astrology, because they hooked me, Sarah, they just got me, hook, line, and sinker got me. When you start following the astrology, you start seeing things that, oh, you know what, this happened in this year, or this happened in this month. And now I can actually see this connection. Mm-hmm. And so what I wanted to do was, instead of looking back, I wanted to start looking ahead. And I'm like, let me see what transits are coming up, so that I can now make the decisions on the potentials that are available. How am I going to start dealing with my energy going through that? Yeah. Or, I say it, I do astrology lives every Sunday. And I say it every time. I'm like, don't take things personally, because just because this doesn't mean that any of your family members or friends have any idea why they're now all of a sudden not feeling well, or something's coming in and shaking their energy up.
Yeah.
So that's really ultimately where it started. And then it's grown exponentially since I started doing these in May, because I was just like, and then the sun is going to be in Sagittarius and blah, blah. And now I'm like, oh my God, this, like, I'm just so comfortable now just talking about like, this is where we are. And you have to now make a choice of how you're going to get through that energy. So that's where I am with astrology.
Yeah. And it's nice knowing what's coming, right? And how to,
Right.
and not to take it personally, and not to like, sometimes I'm not on the ball, and then something's happening. I'm like, Stacia, she's like, well, this and this and this. Okay, I'm good.
And then we're like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
okay, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not
Right.
like,
right.
having
And we're in a Mercury in retrograde, that happens all the time, because Mercury zips around the sun every 88 days. So it's always catching up with us. And, a retrograde is not really going backwards, but our vantage point makes it look like it's going backwards. So the energy really seems to hit us differently, because that's all it is we're on this third rock from the sun, and there's just energy just bouncing around, every direction, hitting the planet. And so with this retrograde, though, it's really it's a better retrograde. Like, it's still, be careful, things can get delayed, things can go wrong, but that can happen anytime. But this retrograde that we're in is really a good energy for getting very clear on what we want to like address moving forward in our life, that we don't want to get, back into these older cycles. It's like getting rid of that old. I said on Sunday that, our funny podcast about the resolutions, but I'm like, don't make a resolution if it doesn't feel good for you. Like, review what's gone right, what hasn't gone right, go back a little bit and reflect and give yourself credit for the amazing things that you've done, so that you can build on those, and not get sucked into this, oh, well, everybody's doing this, so I better make this resolution to do this by such and such date, and then put yourself in a situation where you're going to be disappointed. It's like, no, decide, I'm amazing, and I'm going to build on this amazingness, and now it's going to be great. So
yeah, I like that. And when this airs, it'll be like closer to the end of January. When the heck does the retrograde end? Like, I feel like the retrogrades last longer and longer. Like, is it just me? Are these things lasting longer?
It's just sometimes they just happen to fall within the same cycles. Some of the planets that are further away from us, they don't retrograde quite nearly as often. Okay. One, I think it was Uranus, like, it takes like 140 years to go around the sun.
Wow.
So we're never really going to catch that one, maybe one time in a lifetime. So,
and
but
Saturn.
Oh yeah.
The Saturn is a once in a lifetime thing. Thank the Lord. Because my Saturn retrograde was no fun.
Yeah.
I can tell
well, and
that.
It depends, right? And it depends on where your Saturn was when you were born. Like, there's just so many small details that can, like Hannah was saying, like, we come in and we have these things already imprinted in us, and it's like we were born, and that energy is almost imprinted in us, and it's now how we decide to use it, or how we decide to learn, like Saturn, how we're deciding to learn from it, learn these lessons.
Is a great teacher, and if you don't learn it, you can
it's
really mess up
again.
Like,
yeah,
I was very fortunate to have my Saturn return when I knew what was going on. I have a very, very incredible astrologer friend, and it was like, I knew what I had to do, but a lot of people don't.
No.
And you're just going, it's, knowledge is power. That's all I can say. Knowledge is power.
Exactly.
Okay, then, Stitch, because I always want to ask for the beginners, what would you say to a beginner? Like, where should they start when it comes to astrology? Like birth chart, but then like what should they be doing?
Using, yeah, the birth chart is super important just to get that idea of what planets were there when they came into their incarnation. But they really just paying attention. And I happen to know someone that does an astrology live every Sunday. It kind of puts puts the pieces out there so that you can then decide. It's like,
we're gonna put the link there.
Yes. We'll put that. Yeah. So I do it. I have a free group, and I also teach it in a subscription group. And it's just really, it's powerful. Knowledge is power, because it's like, now you have this choice that you can flounder around in it, like maybe some of the people around you, or you can decide that that's not what you want. And you can also give them grace and compassion, because they're not understanding why they might be floundering around, and not take it personal, and not decide to make more out of it than is necessary. So
yeah. And what like drives you to share these things with people? Because you're like, you two we're very much alike in that we're like, let me show you. I found this amazing tool. I want to share it with you, right? And we're like all over in your face, like sharing.
Exactly that. It's like, I've always been really good at, for lack of a better word, teaching. Mm-hmm. When I learn something and now I've like fully integrated it, I want everyone to know what I know. And it seems like I sometimes have a much easier way of explaining it to people, because it's like I can almost sense where they are. Like, okay, well, I don't want to over explain it or under explain it. It's like, I know exactly what you need to hear so that we can get on the same frequency. But I just am very passionate about sharing these tools, so kind of like this podcast, so that we can create this ripple effect, so that people know how to get through this life easier, and then they can decide to help those people around them get through this life a little bit easier, because we're coming up on some tough times. Like Sarah asked about the astrology towards the end of January, and I mean, it's getting better, but we have some of these retrogrades even that are ending, that we're still going to be sitting in an energy till March. Like it's going to get better, but you're still going to see people that are not doing the best, and the things that we could be seeing in the news and around the world are terrible, at best. So it's just allowing yourself to be open to new possibilities, and to not create meanings for things that are happening that really, you can just decide to go ahead and radiate out your light to make that all just kind of, go into the abyss. Like, I'm not going to get drawn into this. I'm just going to be good in who I am and what I'm doing. And now this person's like, oh, well, I want to do that too. And it's like, so then we're all shining this light out, and we're raising our consciousness and raising that frequency, so that all of this ugliness can just kind of be put to rest, and kick it out there in the dark. So
yeah.
Oh my God.
Inside, so outside, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the more we work on that, the more we connect to that part of ourselves that really would like to have a different outcome.
Yeah.
The higher we raise the frequency, and then we'll come to the tipping point, right? The amount of people that we need to have it flip literally like a pancake, because it all can change in an instant.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny you were talking about that, and I was like, I wanted to ask you, like, what lights you up the most? And I feel like as you're talking about it, like, you're like glowing. I'm like, I feel like
she's lit up, right? But we can't
tell. You're magnetic. She's always been this fucking magnetic being. Yeah. And then I'm like,
but it's so funny. Sarah, she's like, I'm so passionate. And I was like, I would have never known.
I know. And like my question, I was like, I'm like, I feel like
You hide it so well.
just how you're acting, but I'll allow you to respond.
Oh, well, and learning lights me up. It's like when we discover, especially like the tools that we work with, that we share, when we discover ways that elevate us, I can't wait to share that with people. Like it really just like I know I'm like, but I mean it really just does it. It puts me on like another level, and I'm just like, I just want to share this. And sometimes we share things that we're super passionate about and people are like, meh. Yeah. But I've learned that I don't take that personally. I'm like, well, you know what? You're where you're at. Yeah. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. Now, Stacia, 10 years ago would have been like, why are you not doing this? I've told you everything that you need to know about everything. You should be listening, and I decided that doesn't work. It's like wherever they're at in their journey, that's where they're at in their journey. And when they're ready, they're ready. If they're not, it's okay. So yeah, I'm just very passionate about learning and, obviously crystals, and I love my family and movement.
I discovered movement. You love
movement is my big thing right now. So yeah.
Good. So what do you do for self-care? Because you know that Sarah and I hate baths, right? A lot of people are like, go and take a bath, and we're like, oh, please spare me.
Oh, that's
but
so
what
funny
because what do you do?
I also do not take baths. Yeah. Isn't that weird? Like everybody's all bubble baths. I'm like, no, thank you. I mean, maybe if I had like a jacuzzi. I found some
shower things that you put in the shower.
Yes.
I saw that, and I'm like, I'm gonna send you guys some.
Yes. We actually found some shopping for Christmas. They had these little shower discs, and I was like, oh, isn't that just so lovely? But I also, because I don't take, baths, I take showers, I do like foot soaks. And I use essential oils with Epsom salt in those foot soaks, so that, I'm kind of getting the soaking part. And also I use moon water. Oh. I'm surrounded by moon water. That's literally just, I do a whole thing, but I bless the bottles. It's got crystals in it. I've set intentions. I put it outside, and I ask the moon to, put its loving energy into the water. And then I use that water throughout the month. And one thing that I also do is I get a massage every 2 to 3 weeks, regardless of my financial stability. I'm not giving up the massage because it's very necessary. So, and it's funny that, relaxing and I put exercise with that because I love yoga, and, I do a lot of work at the gym, and it seems like I have really been able to incorporate that mind part with the body, like movement and meditation almost, which is funny that that's what we're doing right now in our meditation group, is adding this movement with our meditation. And it's amazing because sometimes I will have like a life question, and I'll go and I'll do a workout, and it's like light bulb. Oh yes, there it is. There's the answer that I just needed to be still, because the mind chatter's gone, because I'm focused on doing something, and therefore I can just be open to receive, information that we all have this ability to tap into. It's like, there it is. And of course, I have this big passion for jujitsu right now, and I obviously can't get enough. And we started just a couple days a week, and now we are going every day but Sunday. So there we are.
Stacia, it's our quote of the day, and you're a quote girl, and it's your interview. So I'm excited to hear what quote you pick. Okay. Quote of the day graphic. Boom, boom, boom.
Quote of the day.
Okay. Well, originally, I'm going to say this. we recorded an episode where I had answered questions. And let me say that today, completely different questions and answers. Completely. We had a technical mishap shortly before the Mercury retrograde. So sorry, Mercury, I had to throw you under the bus on that one.
Shadow period, but we
was
kind
it
of
shadow?
Yeah.
What?
But
Good
I
thing-
couldn't remember which quote we used. And so I looked, because I love quotes. I love reading. I have almost as many books as I have crystals, if you could believe that. And so one hit me, and it's something that was really sentimental, because my husband actually introduced me to Maya Angelou.
Wow.
And I had no idea really who she was, and he loved her poetry, and he had some books that, And Still I Rise, and I Know Why Cage Bird Sings, and I was like, who is this woman? Because I'm old and I come before the days of the internet, so I didn't know. I hadn't really known anything about her. So the quote that I saw that I had was, "A bird does not sing because it has an answer. It sings because it has a song."
Oh.
And that is a Maya Angelou quote that I thought was just really speaks volumes for who I am and who we are becoming, together, is just really allowing ourselves to share everything that we love and have inside of us with everyone around us, creating that ripple effect for this world, this planet, so we can all rise up into another frequency. So
that
really
would
have
make
a
me
way.
cry.
You brought tears to my eyes, even though my body doesn't really think it's allowed to produce tears anymore. And it really, you just brought them. I just felt the rush, because I still get the feeling, right? And it is, you have such a way. I am so glad you are a quote queen, because you literally hit it on the nail on the head every single time. Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks for letting us interview you and ask you so many questions. And I hope the audience enjoyed this and got to know you a little bit better. Please go check out all the things Stacia's doing. Check out her weekly lives. I always will land on them at the exact time that I need to land on them. I'm like, yeah. And you're like, they're every Sunday. I'm like, I never realized when I was watching them that it was Sunday. I'm just like, I'm on your live. And I'm like, oh, it is Sunday. It's just funny how it's perfect. So thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing so deeply with us. There's things that you shared that I was like, oh, I didn't know that. So I got to know you a little bit better. And I know the audience, if they haven't fallen in love with you yet, they probably are deeply in love with you now. And so this wraps up the 3-part series of interviewing one another and getting to know each other a little bit better. We have pages of ideas and exciting things coming up after this. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share with us. If there's anything that you would like for us to talk about or dive into deeper, we'd be happy to know and do that for you guys. So thank you all for being here, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to The Ripple Effect by The Alliance with Hannah Martinez,
Stacia Stoeff,
and Sarah Jane Lita. We hope you're now vibing high and ready to create your own ripple.
Drop a comment or email to let us know the ripple effect that you are creating.
Music by our very own Hannah Martinez and music production by Onel Moulet.
Follow us on Instagram at The Ripple Effect Pod for more high vibration content. Please rate and review us wherever you listen. Until next time.